Because I don't have the option of having two cameras going at once, let me just show you a little bit about how much oil is on the brush when I'm painting the second layer. So I just touch the brush barely into the oil, and then I work it into the paint. And then I'll go and paint on the canvas. Sometimes I'll just come back and there's enough on this area that I can just paint again. Sometimes I'll just have to touch it in the oil again. And depending on how much I've got on my brush, I'll just work it around a little bit. So it's a matter of just kind of feeling the paint as you go, and you get used to the idea whether you have to just go like this and a few times, or whether I have to go and then I have to work it in because I've got too much oil. So you'll discover with practice how much oil you need to use, but it's very little. It just slides off the brush quite nicely with a touch of the oil. Continuing on, just adding some of the medium to light tones. And I'll bring in the lightest colors next. So now I've got a really light and kind of blue or gray. Often highlights will have a little bit of blue in them just to pick up the sky color. They're reflected from the sky. And this will be on the grayish and brownish areas of his nose, but there'll also be a little bit of it here and there around his face. Because the oil paints are so mobile, I can always come back with another color if I've gone a little too far. Let's put some reflected light up here in the highlights of the mane. And it just takes a few touches to give the indication that it's the hair of the mane. You don't need to paint every hair by any means. And again, switching to a lighter color that is a little more brownish tones for other areas. I think in this case I'll use the same brush. Yeah, the colors are fairly close. The same brush works. along ridges and bones. It will pick up the color of the sky. It'll reflect a little bit lighter. And I could blend this to death and have very smooth surfaces if I want to, but I like to let the brush strokes show just a little bit. Give it some interest. And the viewer's eye will fill it in without me painting every stroke and making it boring. So you can always go back if you've missed something that needs to be a little bit darker. Just pick up another brush, go back in. Some light tufts in the ears. And if it gets to be a bit too much, easy to push it back with the dark. Of course, this will also come to life a little bit more when I go around with the background, because it will help to delineate certain areas. Let's go one shade lighter, but I'm going to put keep some blue in this next lightest shade, because let's assume it's all sky reflection at this point. Just kind of a gray-blue color. Just where it really hits the highest points. Just a few more touches here and there, softening certain edges where I need them. And then I will come around and do the background. Keeping in mind I've got all my colors still if I need to come back with anything. A little more along the neck where I haven't given it quite enough light. Soften those edges so it's not too harsh along here. And I'll bring in the background and see if anything else needs to be done after that. You know what, I think I'll put a little white star on this horse. Just a little interest on the front of his face. It's not pure white, it's the same reflected blue-white. It's disappearing into that area, so I'll bring a bit darker color in there. Little details before I head on to the background.